So the first thing you want to do is go to your main breaker box in your house and flip off the breaker. I'm working on the AC, so I have breakers here, 20 amp for air conditioner, 15 amp for furnace. The units are kind of side by side. Some of the wiring can be intermixed, so we're going to flip both the furnace and the air conditioner off just to be safe. So you just flip the breakers, and now the power is off at the main breaker box. On the side of my heating and air conditioning unit inside of the basement, there is an on and off switch here. We already flipped the main breaker off. We're going to flip this also off just to be safe. Now we're at the outside unit here. We have this little outside disconnect here, and what you want to start doing is using a voltage pen, start checking stuff to make sure everything's cooled. But in addition to the inside breaker and the inside switch on the inside unit, we're going to disconnect the outside disconnect too. So we have that little box opened up for the outside disconnect. I just used a 1/4 inch SAE socket to loosen it. Now here we have our disconnect. We're just going to pull it out. Disconnect is removed, and we're going to set that aside and use our voltage contact tester to touch the wires, double check things are off, and then we're going to proceed to open up this panel here on the side. It's an access panel where the capacitor will be. This unit was suffering from a bad capacitor, as can clearly be seen from the swollen top. This is a brand new capacitor where the top is nice and flush fitting. You can buy these capacitors. This one here I paid I think like 15 bucks for online. You just need to make sure that all of your markings line up. This is a 30-5, 50-60 hertz, 370 volt, and everything here too. You just want to make sure all of your numbers on here line up to the new one. You want to put the same one in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to discharge this old capacitor here, make sure it's discharged. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but that's very simple to do. You can look that up in a separate video. The only dangerous part about this, it requires some electrical knowledge, but I'm going to go ahead and discharge this old capacitor. It should have next to no charge as it is, if it even has any, but just to be safe, we're going to discharge it, and then we're going to connect the new one up. Now that it has been discharged, we are just going to, it's the same type. You see here where it says fan, C, and Herm. We're just going to transfer the wires from the old one to the new one, making sure that they go to the proper place. So take the wire from C, put it to C, take the wires from fan, Herm to Herm, etc. Just transfer them over right as they show, so that they all line up properly. And then once the new one's connected, you just remove this little bracket here, just use a little socket, remove the old one, mount the new one in, and it would be ready to go. So the new one is installed. This is the old one with the swollen top. Now that it's installed, everything's in correctly and tightened down, we are just going to close everything back up and just repeat all of our previous steps. To close this panel, put the outside disconnect on, go back inside, flip the breakers, then we're going to try this all. So this is 1 hour after putting that new capacitor in and starting it up. And it started right up, running perfectly fine. And this has now dropped the temperature inside the house 4 degrees cooler. It's middle of July here, it's pretty warm. It was 78 degrees in the house and humid before, and an hour later, after replacing the capacitor, it's down to 74 and dropping quick. That worked. Entire repair cost was like 25 bucks, took me about 15 minutes total.